George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie, Wolves, is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie, Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All2ReelToo. My name is 𝕬𝖑𝖆𝖈 II, and with me, as always, is
Sesame 8 Days and Carta.
8 days a week. I love. Oh, sorry.
Is that a song?
8 days a week?
Is it? Is it like a real song?
Yeah, it's the Beatles.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was never like a Beatles person, so I don't know all their
Oh,
songs.
wow. Oh, man,
Yeah.
you gotta. Oh, the Beatles.
I like Sgt. Pepper. It's pretty cool, and I listened to part of the White Album. It's super long, so I didn't listen to the whole thing. But
You gotta listen to like the early stuff, even though it's poppier. It's great too. But like, I do think their newer stuff is better. The newer stuff that came out.
newer stuff.
newer stuff
yeah,
came
the
out
newer stuff.
50 some years ago or 60 years ago or whatever. But still, the
Yeah, I think it was like 50 years ago is when their last
Yeah.
album came out.
yeah. And so, but no, like I like Rubber Soul. That's my favorite album of theirs. But yeah, so that's the turning point from the pop to the more like, it's kind of like you can tell they started smoking more pot like right about that time.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
Maybe dropping some acid or something. But yeah,
You ever hear about that Scottish guy that claimed that he wrote an album that sounded just like Sgt. Pepper and they played it for Paul McCartney, and then like 6 months later, that's when Sgt. Pepper came out, and he's claiming that they kind of stole it from him.
Yeah, I've heard these rumors before, but yeah, they've all been proven. It's like the whole Paul is dead thing and stuff, and like where he was replaced by a lookalike that at a like some guy that won a Paul McCartney lookalike contest. They replaced Paul after he died in a car accident or something. So yeah.
Oh, gee. Isn't there a concept though called like parallel thinking or something, where like someone's just has the same idea at the same time, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like,
And I totally doubt that somebody at the same exact time would have written. I mean, parallel thinking is like where, you get Deep Impact and Armageddon coming out in theaters right around the same time or similar things. It's not going to be, or you might have a song that sounds similar, but I doubt that somebody would have recorded the whole Sgt. Pepper's album prior to the Beatles.
Well, no, I don't mean.
Yeah.
I don't mean like it sounded exactly the same. I meant like it was similar style, like.
Oh yeah, similar style. Then yeah, I could get that. But yeah, I thought you were saying like the dude just recorded an album that sounded exactly like.
No, that would be like
note for note and word for word. It's Sgt. Pepper, and then he played it for Paul, and Paul's like, "Hey John, I got this great idea for an album."
Right. That would be like the guy's a prophet, basically, at that point.
Yeah, basically.
Like, we start worshiping him like the Scottish prophet. Oh boy! All right. Well, the reason why I did 8 days is because of the short film that we talked or watched.
Yeah, we're covering today a film called Quest, directed by Saul and Elaine Bass. Saul Bass is a well-known. He became a filmmaker later on, but he was pretty well known for being like a graphic designer, and he did a lot of the opening credits to films and other effects in a lot of films, including Vertigo by Hitchcock and things like that. So he was pretty well respected before this. It was based on a story by Ray Bradbury, the famous sci-fi writer. So yeah.
Yep. I like
Yep.
he always does like kind of like sad stories or sad-ish stories that are like kind of like sci-fi-y. Is that even a word, sci-fi-y? But
yeah, I mean he wrote Fahrenheit 451.
Mhm.
So, that kind of tells you what he's got going on there in his head, or had going on in his head before he passed away in 2012. So
I'm obsessed with a lot in the realists died that late. Wow.
yeah.
He is obsessed with films where like time is like really short, or like, so I think he also did a story that I read, I think in 7th or 8th grade. It was called All Summer in a Day or something like that, and I kind of want to review that sometime too. It's basically about these people live like on another planet or some kind of like space station or something like that, and there's this girl who's convinced that the sun only comes out once every 7 years, and only for like a few minutes at a time, but everyone else says, like, we don't know if that's for certain because the sun did come out 7 years ago, but we don't know it's going to be a thing where it's every 7 years. We just don't know yet. But she was convinced that it was going to come out again. And so she was always like just bothering people, like constantly talking about it. They're just tired of her saying it. So eventually some bullies like put her in like a broom closet or something and locked her in.
Yeah.
Right then the sun actually didn't came out. And so they forgot about her. So they went outside to play and everything. And she was like stuck in the closet, and then finally.
Yeah, there is a television adaptation of it that we might want to try to find. And
I've seen clips of it. It's kind of that story actually really, really affected me when I read it. Cause I was like, man, that's a really sad story. Like, it's like she's got to wait another 7 years before the sun comes out again,
Yeah.
This one's kind of similar to that, not really, but it's kind of in the sense of like time being short or whatever. So that was just like a theme that he liked, I guess,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense. So what was your initial reaction to this?
I kind of liked it. It was a little bit slow, which is interesting because the story is about how time is really fast. But the movie itself, or short film itself, was kind of slow going. It's something that you have to kind of really be in the mood for, because you're gonna have to like watch like 5 minutes of just some guy walking, something like that. You have to be in the mood for it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it seems kind of boring, but it's a good story, but I think there could have been a little bit more to it, but I don't know how close it is to the Bradbury story or not, but it's pretty much there's not a lot of dialogue at all and everything, so that makes it kind of interesting. But it's basically like a guy walking through a bunch of prog rock album covers for 30 minutes.
Pretty much. Like some of it looked like Yes album covers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Well, he is the owner of a lonely heart.
No, it's true.
Yep.
Literally true to this movie.
Yes. Oh boy. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I thought after I watched it, though, is I was like, this just looks like a bunch of like 80s rock, 80s like prog rock albums and stuff. That's late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing bad. It was the effects were pretty good for its time for 1984. So yeah. So what really happens? I mean, it's basically just a guy walking. But what's the main story here, Sesame?
Well, basically, it's humans are on some other planet, which is similar to the other story. Actually, I'm going to look that up later to make sure that Ray Bradbury wrote that other story too, and I just didn't assume it's him.
He did. I looked it up already.
Oh, it's him.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so I wanted to make sure.
And it is called All Summer in a Day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't like screwing up.
That's why I was telling you that's how I knew there was an adaptation of it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, that's on YouTube where it was at one point. I actually used some of the scenes for that, one of my compilation music things I put out that was interesting. Like, so they live on some other planet. The sun doesn't come out again, so that's that theme as well again. And I'm not sure why he likes that so much.
Here comes the sun. Oh wait, the Beatles are going to sue us so bad.
Yeah. Oh my god. And And so because there's no sun or something like that, they live underground. And because of like, it's either too hot in the
Yeah.
daytime and too cold in the nighttime, which I don't understand because the guy is walking throughout the day, but fine, whatever. And then everyone only lives for 8 days and then they die. And so they just age like ridiculously fast. And so
Mhm.
his mom gives birth to him. The elders are checking for something on his hand because if he has like a certain line on his hand, that means he's like the chosen one or something like that. I'm
So
not sure.
I have a question here. Okay, so they're giving birth to people. They only live 8 days. So is this kind of like where like flies and stuff, like where they've got to, I mean, these are humans though, like so they've got to form some kind of romantic or physical bond to a person of the opposite sex in a very short time to
Well, yeah.
create life like that. It's just really, do they somehow predetermine this or what's going on? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah.
So what I think is going on, and I would have to like read like a synopsis from like Ray Bradbury himself or something.
Yeah.
But like what I kind of got from it is that not only do they physically age in 8 days, but like mentally as well. So like that's
Yeah.
the reason why like the elders like were so smart and like they knew exactly like what to teach him and stuff like that. So that's what I was hearing from it is like 8 days is like 80 years for us, like mentally, basically. That's what I'm thinking. And then actually, I don't know, because at one point he said something like we have no time to like feel anything and no time. I don't know. Maybe they just kind of, that was like an oversight on their part.
Or maybe it's just they realize they need to repopulate, so they just do it for the utility of the purpose, and they teach each other. Like when a new person is born, they're like, yeah, okay, so here's the deal. You're going to have sex with this other person to create life. Or maybe there's some kind of other creatures that aren't really human-like, and they procreate in a different way. I don't know. So
right, yeah, there's no like really explanation. And it does seem like each generation they do like gain a little bit more knowledge, and so they teach that to the previous one.
Yeah.
To the point now where we have our character who's they think is ready, like from day one, to like go out and to like find some kind of like weird like spaceship type of thing or something to like fix the problem. And so since he was so young that he would actually have time to make it all the way through, which is like everyone else they sent like on day 3 or day 4, and they never had time to make it. So he goes off. He's like already like maybe 12 or 13 years old, like in our years. And there's a really cool scene where he goes in a cave. There's like some kind of monster that tries to attack him, and he ends up killing the monster by throwing like a javelin at it. And then like hears a bunch of other screeching sounds. So he picks up a rock and he starts swinging it around going, no, but then you could hear his voice getting lower and it keeps switching off. And then eventually he becomes like early 20s or late teens, like just in that one scene, he ages, so I thought that was kind of a thing they did for that. And then he ends up like walking through like sand, essentially like ocean, but like an ocean of sand, because he keeps like
up to his neck almost. Yeah.
Not quicksand, but he keeps like sinking because it gets like higher and higher, like an ocean would. And then he finds some kind of like pod or something like that. I don't remember. And then he enters the pod, and then there's like some kind of like weird troll monster that like wants to play a game of like heuristic chess for some reason. And they were teaching him that too at the cave, like these weird like pyramid shaped. Anyway, what else? Well, you said you kind of fell asleep at one point, but
so basically, I mean, he's just like then, and he's like trying to get through all these like almost like mazes and stuff. It's basically like the hero's journey boiled down to 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, totally.
With not as many obstacles as like Lord of the Rings or something. This is literally like when Kevin Smith would talk about the Lord of the Rings, how the movies are just somebody walking for hours and then they're getting rid of a ring or something. This is kind of like that, but even more so, where he's just walking basically and going through these different obstacles. And it's the obstacles aren't as like big, I think, as like something in the Lord of the Rings where you got battles to fight and all this other shit, but it's still hard to do, I think. Yeah. So
yeah. And it's like obviously he keeps aging. It gets to the point where he's like maybe like in his like 50s or even maybe early 60s or something like that. And he eventually finds the thing he would need to find, which I don't even remember what it was. And then somehow that like turned on the sun or something like that. I don't know. And then everyone at home can like feel it and see the sun. So I'm guessing now he's like reversed the weird aging thing, I guess. I don't know. And not exactly sure how he did that or what he did to turn on the sun, but he did, and that was pretty much it. I mean, it was like a 30-minute film, and that was pretty much it. It was just him kind of walking, plays this weird game of chess with the troll creature, and he wins because that was one of the things they taught him how to play. And I guess because the troll lost, he just has to like let him go through or something.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So I looked up the the synopsis of the short story that it's based on.
Yeah.
Which is Ray Bradbury's short story called Frost and Fire.
Oh wow.
Which is from his collection R is for Rocket. It's the 14th short story in that. It was first published in Planet Stories, fall of 1946, as The Creatures That Time Forgot.
Oh wow.
There's it says it's the story about short-lived humans on a planet that's similar to Mercury. So the plot summary here, according to Wikipedia, is placed there by a past rocket ship that crashed. The people of the storied land are within sight of another rocket ship on a distant mountain plateau. The plot follows Sim, the protagonist of this story, and his apparently short life on a planet where people are cursed by radiation to live only 8 days. The people of this planet are also gifted with racial memory, which is also known as genetic memory. They remember the ancestors' memories.
Okay.
So that might explain how they're able to form relationships and stuff. I don't know. They do not, however, they do not attempt to reach the sole remaining rocket ship due to the futility of attempting to reach it in 1 hour, which is the longest length of time between day and night, both deadly.
Oh God.
Sim is then moved by the memory of his ancestors to find and meet with scientists who make halting progress towards the goal of lengthening the world's decreased lifespan. Sim, motivated by his dwindling days, makes it his goal to extend his life and reach the distant rocket, despite the protests of his sister and other cave dwellers. Yeah, so it's a little different than the short film. So
yeah, exactly, because like a rocket ship versus some weird futuristic pod or whatever, like the bridge.
Maybe that futuristic pod was a rocket ship. Who knows? But there wasn't a lot of explanation for things in this. So
no, other than like the old dude basically telling him like, hey, like we can't teach you anymore. We don't have time. You're just gonna have to like learn more as you go, basically. I'm like, okay, that's very reassuring. Like, hey, you just figure it out, while you try to kill a monster or whatever and defeat this troll dude. You know what kind of that troll dude? He kind of reminded me of the Bigfoot costume in the Cry Wilderness film.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same costume. Because that movie was made like 85 or 86, I think. So
yeah,
just around that time. And there was, though, I don't know why I'm talking so loud. There was a thing though where he kept like hearing like echoes of like other people telling him what to do. So maybe that was like the whole thing of like remembering the ancestors' memories type of thing, symbolically trying to do that through the film with the kind of technology they had at the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know, it's like it's an interesting concept. I think maybe if you added the other characters back in, it might make an interesting modern movie, but I don't think it could be like obviously you couldn't turn this in. I mean, I guess Hollywood could do about anything, and because they've turned short Dr. Seuss stories into like hour-and-a-half movies. So who knows?
It's true. It's a bunch of slow-mo probably and execs. Oh my God. So there's this dude named Charlie on YouTube. He's got a channel called Penguins. He also goes by Moist Critical. He watched both versions of this movie called Rebel Moon, which Zack Snyder apparently directed or wrote or whatever.
Yeah, he's got part 1 and part 2. Yeah.
And so he painstakingly went through part 2 and timed out every single time he used slow motion and how long the slow motion was. And he was like close to like a quarter of this movie was just slow motion. Like it's like because he does that so much. Like it's like his favorite thing to do. Like even in the Flash movie, He did
It's
that,
like
but
it's like he loves slow motion, and J.J. Abrams loves lens flares. It's like, so
it's like, dude, it doesn't have to be like your signature move. Like,
Mhm.
like
I mean, and luckily he doesn't do like normal slow motion, though. He does kind of like a stylistic slow motion at least, but still, it's
right,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I want to see like a love. It would be really funny if Snyder did a like a romantic comedy, and there's like a scene where they're running to each other, or like a not necessarily a romantic comedy, like a romance film, and they're like running to each other in a field or something in slow motion, but he does it in his style as opposed to like the slow motion that you see in other movies.
Right. So it's like you think like an action scene is coming up or whatever. They just like
Uh,
kiss or hug. It's like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, overall, I enjoyed this. It's an interesting short film. I mean, it reminds me, not in a derogatory way, I guess, but of stuff I saw in college, like student films and other things that I saw when I was in college, like even experimental films and stuff like that. It reminds me a lot of that type of stuff. I mean, I may have
oh,
even saw it when I was in college. Who knows?
yeah.
Saw so many movies when I was in college. I don't remember half of them.
That's the thing. When you watch so many, like you just remember like the good ones or the ones that
Yeah,
really stuck out to you. I
yeah,
remember we went to one of your student films, and there was, and I remember it, but there was one also in particular where I think this guy named Jeremy Lublin had done the music for. He was a local
yeah,
a local musician. He was in a band called 𝕬𝖕𝖎𝖈, and then later on they changed the name to The Fury or something like that. I think
yeah,
he did the music or was part of the music, and it was like some like short suspense film, and I don't even remember exactly what it was, but like I remember go seeing it with you because one of your films was that. I think it was the one with like the eyes and stuff like that
yeah.
that you were showing. I don't remember
Mhm.
exactly what, but I think it was that one. And so yeah, sometimes something just sticks out to you,
Yeah.
like in the memory bank,
Yeah, that does happen. I mean, it's interesting. Like, I mean, my favorite experimental film, not favorite, but the most unique experimental film I ever saw was the movie Blue by, I believe it's a Derek Jarman or somebody. And it was just a blue screen the whole time with audio, because at
Wow.
the time he was dying from HIV and AIDS,
My God.
and he had lost his sight, and all he could see was the color blue.
Wow.
So he wanted people to experience the world the way he did. So he just went around and recorded audio of his day, and then made a film where he just put a blue screen up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I hear you typing something. What are you
Yeah, I
typing?
was just trying to see. Yeah, it is Derek Jarman. I was just trying to
Oh,
remember.
okay.
Yeah, Blues. It was a 1993 British drama film directed by Derek Jarman in his final feature film, released 4 months before his death from AIDS. Yeah, so yeah, it was basically just he had this color blue, that was all he saw, so he just had that up there. So yeah,
What year was that out? Was that like in the 80s and 90s or like 2000s?
93.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I'm like, now they got drugs that pretty much like it almost makes it impossible to die from
Yeah.
AIDS. Like, but I was like, oh,
Mhm.
it must have been earlier than when they didn't
Yeah,
have
it
that.
was. Yeah, he was an interesting filmmaker. So yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Cool.
any other thoughts on this wonderful film we saw?
Not really. I mean, because it was just so little that happened, and
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot happened. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I check it out if you haven't yet, but obviously if you're listening to this, I hope you have. One thing I would like to say, too, if you want to, you can check us out at all2reeltoo.com. You can go to one of our social media places. We've got links to those on there. There's also links to our TeePublic and our Patreon. With our Patreon right now, we've got different like paid membership tiers, if you're interested. And to get there, you can go to patreon.com/Cullen Park. So that's CULLENPARK. And it's not just for our podcast, but it's also for the films that we hope to make in the future too. But we've got different tiers where, like, for $1 a month, you can get early access to every episode and thanked by our hosts in a future episode. And our hosts are me and Sesame.
I was like, wait a minute, what other hosts?
Yeah. And for $10 a month, you can pick a podcast episode topic. And so you could have us like dive deep into a favorite TV episode, or a movie, or another pop culture topic you want. We'll do an episode specifically for you.
Yeah.
But we'll release it to everybody. We also, for our podcast producer tier, you get everything from the earlier levels, but you can produce a series of 3 episodes on a special topic of your choice. So if you want us to do like 3 movies in a trilogy, we can do that. Something like that. Just for $150 a month, these are all by month as well. You can be in a movie, one of our upcoming films. So check that out. Go to patreon.com/Cullen Park. So that's CULLENPARK, as in my last name with the word park after it. Okay. Yeah. So also, just tell your friends about our show, share the episodes, let everybody know that you love us or you hate us. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you can give a review. Make sure you write a little bit about us too below it. That helps people find us. So if you want more people to find us and you want us to keep producing these great episodes, do it. Also, what you're going to want to do is go to Paris, go to the top of the Eiffel Tower, bring a banner with you that says All2ReelToo and just release it from the top of the Eiffel Tower.
That should get a lot.
There. Yeah, that'll give us a lot.
Wow.
Or just go on a journey to a weird orb thing and
and then
bring your favorite episode of All2ReelToo with you and maybe you'll live longer.
Show it to the troll creature. He might not make you play chess with them.
Yeah, you guys can just sit there and maybe put one earbud in you and one in the troll creature and you can listen to an episode together.
Yeah, you could do the whole thing because that's like a bonding experience, So you'd be like, oh, thank you. I've been sitting here for years just waiting to play a single game of chess, but now I get to listen to a podcast, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then he's like, "What the fuck is a podcast?" Anyway, just remember that I love you. Free Palestine.
Yeah.
Trans lives are human lives.
Yep.
And trans rights are human rights.
Yep.
And Sesame loves you.
Yep.
Until next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All2ReelToo podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Haas. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.
The great visionary leader of India, Mahatma Gandhi, said, "It is health that is real wealth, and not pieces of gold and silver." Listen to the Healthy Grocer radio show on your favorite podcast platform. We know that health is our greatest wealth, and we will be discussing all aspects of natural healing. Explore everything from supplements, superfoods, and healthy lifestyle choices to help conquer stress and boost productivity. Top industry experts and natural health professionals join us for a deep dive into our healing journey. You can find the Healthy Grocer radio show on demand every day, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And remember, health is your greatest wealth.